So if you're following along from the other one, we just make sure you've re-enabled the up and down, so all these are going to be turned on. And we have the joystick set to the 8 directional. The next option we have here is idle at edge. Idle at edge means that if the player actually gets to the edge of a block, based on the character controller size, so whatever the character controller size you have is, that's going to be where the edge is actually being checked for. If the player gets to there, then he'll go into the idle at edge animation if you have this enabled. So for instance, if I turn it off, so we've seen it before with it turned on, but if I actually turn it off at this point, when the player gets to the edge, instead of actually having the idle at edge animation, he actually just has the standard idle animation playing for it. So you can go either way with it. It's just all you have to do is turn that one on or off. And then remember, with all of these, and I'll just kind of throw it in there during the recording on the characters, is that it's based on whether or not the developer has an animation for it. If there's no animation for it, then it'll actually just play the idle animation instead. But if there is an animation available, then you'll be able to use it with it. And then there is a edge depth distance, which just simply means that when the player moves to the side, if there's an edge somewhere down below here and you don't want the player to just get to the edge and look like he's in an edge, but it looks like he's just simply more at a step, then you can actually take the edge distance and drop it further down so that he can determine whether he's there or not. And then also with the idle at edge is going to be the options. Currently he's only checking for left and right. You can check for the other angles as well if you're wanting to actually work through those. The one thing to keep in mind with those is usually if you're doing a character that's just as a for instance, is that instead of being 2D side, it's ortho, then you might find yourself wanting to do it so that the player can be at different angles and find an edge of a corner that he can play the different animation on too. Alright, so with that set though, let's make sure we at least show you with the idle at edge getting to an edge and being able to see it. So if I'm moving to the side, if I get to the edge, then the player shows the idle at edge animation going from there. And then same thing, if I'm going up here and I'm idling it at the edge, or if I get to here and I'm idling. Alright, so there we go. Basic one, and the idle is not going to be checking until the player stops moving. So you could get to the edge, but if you're moving, then it's not going to actually show it. But when you actually stop to go to the idle state, then it's going to check for whether it's standard idle or idle at edge.